Hello guys, if you like my awesome gaming videos, my programming and web development courses, my editing courses and editing videos, and my tech talks and tech guidance, then you can consider subscribing to my channel and click on this bell icon to stay connected with me.
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today is a very important video for you guys because this is about React.js. So normally I'm not making this tutorial or this video to make code and show how the React works. Okay, I'll just deep dive into the main core concept of React.js, especially for the beginners who want to get a job at junior level React developer, because for that you need to know a lot about it. You need to know the ins and out of the React.js and everything, how it works and every single piece of it, and even how the React routers work, how the state management works with Redux and React functional component and the functional component and the class component, states, props, every single ins and out that you need to learn and to become a React junior developer, and how you can get your first awesome React job, because this is a very large community and React.js is hot topic and it is extremely awesome for creating web UI with complex UI. Especially it is really suitable. So in this video we're gonna see some questions and based on it you see some answers. So the first is, what is React.js? So I already told about it. It is a simple JavaScript library. It is not even a framework. It is just a simple library, very lightweight, that is built to create UI for the web application in a very efficient way. I write it here. In your junior developer question, someone asks what is React.js, and you need to give a proper answer. It is a UI for building web application that is created in JavaScript, and it is a very efficient way, and it does everything very optimal way. And it uses component based architecture, which I'm going to show you in full detail in the later part of the video. It's invented by Facebook engineers to build complex UI make easier, because Facebook, if you use Facebook, there's a lot of components, a lot of things going on, and a lot of user interactions. So it gets really complicated when using this website gets very messy, very complex, and very slow. And to remove this kind of problem, the Facebook engineers invented React.js to make complex UI make easy to run and very efficient way. So that is the main thing of React.js. And so I already talked about some of the advantages, you already know it, but here you can see some of the advantages. The React is very easy to learn, okay, and it is very easy to implement because it is a component based architecture, and you can make component and implement into the main component and do it this kind of way. It has child and parent component, which is I will also going to talk about in the later part of the video, which is very important. And it is very efficient, and there is no compromise in an efficiency and the performance of the React application. So most of the developers like it, and most of the users also like it because it is very efficient and it is really fast, okay. And the component based architecture, as you can see, and it is also reusable. You can reuse some component in some pages, in some web pages, and reuse it so that you don't have to do a lot of work. So it is very developer friendly. It is awesome React. It has a concept called virtual DOM, which I'm going to talk about full briefly in this particular video. We just understand it within a second. It is very important to understand. It is a kind of DOM that is not real DOM, okay. It is a virtually work with it. That's why it is very fast. Just know that thing. It has a great community, and a lot of people use it, and a lot of community are getting into the React because of its amazing performance. And it is useful when creating complex dynamic application. For a small application, I will not recommend you to use React because it doesn't worth it. But when you have a complex UI and a lot of user interactions, forms, submissions, and click events that are going on, then I think you should use a React, which will make your website super fast and amazing. And it is search engine optimization friendly. And the disadvantages of React is that you need a very good knowledge in modern JavaScript, like ECMAScript 6, 7, which is ES6 and 7. You need to know about arrow functions, object structures, and spread operators, etc. There are a lot of things going on. You need to know about a lot of those things and the basic JavaScript concept very well to understand React, which is someone find it very difficult if you don't understand JavaScript, and then if you move on to React and learn it with a hurry to get a job, which will not do the work for you. First, learn the modern JavaScript properly and understand all the concept, all the functions. You learn the JavaScript functions like map, reduce, and all of those important functions. Then you can work really well with the React. And you need to learn new concept like JSX, which is JavaScript XML, because it is very important to learn how you can implement and write within the HTML element. You can write JavaScript, and this is actually the JSX. It is implementing a new concept called JSX, where you can write HTML element, and within HTML element you can write the JavaScript, okay, so as a variable, which is really amazing and awesome. When you implement it in the real life, it will look really nice and it will work like a charm, and you will understand it when you will practice by yourself. And also it has a virtual DOM, which is another part that you need to know and understand how it is working. And in your interview question, you must have to know what is the JSX properly and give a proper example, and just give a proper example and why it is different from the virtual DOM and why it is different from the real DOM. Okay, and it has a poor documentation, like other framework like Django, Laravel, all of those framework has a very good documentation, but React doesn't have that much good recommendation, and you need to add a lot of third-party libraries to do some certain work. And some people find it at the beginning, some people find it really difficult, but when you get used to it, it will be really easy for you. It covers only the UI part of the web application, because React.js is actually the front-end library. It is not a back-end. Like Express, it is a back-end library for the Node.js, but here React is only the UI part. Only you can design the UI properly. And React is not optimal or the good for a small web application. You can use normal HTML, CSS and JavaScript to make small web applications. And when it comes to a lot of component, and parent is sending information to the child, and that child is passing information to its own child, and these are the trees going on, and that at that time the state management gets really complex. And when you learn state management in Redux, it gets even more complex, and you need to give a lot of effort to learn it properly. So all of this learning curve little bit gets complicated when you don't understand things that I already told about. So be careful about that. And what is JSX? Because JSX is so important in React. So JSX stands for JavaScript XML. It allows us to directly write in React. You can directly write HTML in React within the JavaScript code. So everything in the JSX is actually JavaScript, and you can write HTML element, or you can see in the HTML element you can write JavaScript, both ways. And it uses dynamic curly braces within HTML element, like you can write some h1, h2, and within this you can add JavaScript, okay, code to it. And JSX produces some React element and follows XML code. Obviously you need to use some angle bracket to use XML code, and also it uses React elements, so that's why it's called JSX, JavaScript XML. And what it does, it makes easier to write or add HTML in React. Normally we don't use plain HTML in React, we use JSX, and that JSX is actually the HTML in React. And it converts that HTML tags like p tag, h tag, image tag, etc. to React elements, so that we work like a React way. Faster than regular JavaScript. When it runs in the web browser, it is faster than normal JavaScript you write in many ways. And it helps to put HTML element in DOM without append child or create element method. When you write in normal JavaScript, that create element, it creates some element like p tag, h tag, image tag, etc. the element. When you use this type of function called create element, it creates that element. And when you append that child, it appends some child in the node. So it helps to put HTML element, those are the HTML element that we put in DOM, and without calling these functions like append child, create element. You don't need to call that to do that like you do it in the vanilla JavaScript. You can just easily do it in React with JSX, which is the main purpose we are using it. Then we have, what is the difference between real DOM and virtual DOM? This is a very important question, and many React developers interview questions you will be asked that question. That's why I kept it very important and talking about it for a long time. So DOM is actually the document object model, which you see in the web browser on the HTML model or HTML document. As you can see in the web structure, we have p tag, we have h tag, we have image tag, we have table, all of those elements we have. Those are structured in a tree structure, and it has nodes in it that contains web page HTML element, and those element contains a full website. Okay, so those are the elements that are the nodes in DOM. So if those information changes, or if the information or the state changes, we call it in React that state changes, because states are the thing that holds the data for this component. So when the state changes or the value changes in the DOM, okay, or the element changes in the DOM, the tree gets changed. The whole tree gets changed if you change only one element in this DOM and re-render every single thing from the scratch. And if you go to that particular link like www.geeks4geeks.org React.js virtual DOM, you understand a lot of things about it, how it is doing all the work, and re-render everything and adding CSS and HTML element and doing all of those refresh. And when you click on this refresh button, everything is refreshed and reload everything from the scratch, which is very slow process and it is very costly. If I change the simplest of thing in the DOM, like I change the simple h2 tag and change this state, then it will render every single piece of it and the full website, and it makes everything slows down, which is not right. So virtual DOM is introduced in React.js to make things faster, and it helps us to make things and do things faster by changing all the things that need to be changed. Suppose I need to change only a simple paragraph tag in the total website. So that data is changed only, not everything, just a simple paragraph or simple image is changed. I don't want to render the whole website and whole structures of the tree nodes in that. I just want to change the particular thing that is only changed, not the whole UI of the web page. That is the thing of virtual DOM do, that changes the page only the thing that is changed, and it holds the real DOM. It doesn't change real DOM as soon as you change the particular thing. First it compare that which part need to be changed, then it changes the real DOM, because virtual DOM cannot change automatically. First it need to identify in the real DOM which part is changed or which state is changed, then it calls the real DOM and it changes the real DOM, which is very effective and fast, because in this way I can change only the part that is changing, not the whole web page, which is slow. So that's why virtual DOM is the savior of us, that is making the website super efficient, super cool and super fast. So I suggest you to go to the Geek Service website that I linked here in the right hand corner, and you will understand a lot of things, and which will be really helpful for you, because you are just a junior developer. You need to learn every single concept of React to get a job. Then we have, what is the purpose of render method in React? Now React render method just returns some HTML, but normally in React we don't call it normal HTML. It is returning JSX, okay, which is in the form of HTML, which you want to display in a component. So in the React everything is a component, okay. So in the component you want to display some information in a JSX format, and that is the thing that render function returns. Whatever thing you want to see in a component in the web UI, it returns that, it renders that. But if you want a lot of thing within a one HTML element like div, you can add thousands of divs under one div, but you need to use one div or fragment or form. Inside that you can use multiple elements that you want to render, but everything should be inside a group, and then it will work perfectly. What is the difference between state and props? So state is actually holding all those data in the components that we need. Some component like in a person's information like his name, email, password, all of the things is storing in a state, suppose. So state is a data structure that holds the UI data for particular React apps in particular React component. It is mutable because it is changeable. When you click some button and some information changes, and the information is changed because the state is changed. So that's why the state can be changed, and it is mutable. It is changeable based on some UI element interactions that user do that changes the state value. So we can say the stateful component has state in it, and stateful component has state because state should be changed, and you will be creating web application and dynamic web application that will change state based on some certain user interactions. So that is making sense. I will create add button and it will add some information. I will go from one place to another place. It will change the state. I will change the information, like if I add some increase button, it will increase the value. If I click the minus button, it will decrease the value. So state is changing. So we need to use stateful component to work with our state. So it is also important. And props are the thing that is how the components talk to each other. Suppose a parent component is sending some information to child component. The child component doesn't know anything, but it has some information given by its parent, and then it takes all this information as a parameter, as a functions, or it can take any functions and parameters and all those values from the parent and do some work and shows the information in the render method. Just simple it is, and it is stateless because it doesn't know anything about state. It just get everything that its parents gives to it. Okay, So I'll show you in the code, in the real life example, what is actually it is, and you'll understand very well how to work with like that. So it says that it can also get functions, it can also get some data as a parameter from its parent to do some certain work on the UI. It is immutable because you cannot change it. Only its parent component can change this data, but you cannot change it. And it is a stateless component. Now these are the things that you will understand later concepts, which is the depth of state and props. Now I will take some break and go into the real world application and show you how it is done. And let's go to our applications. Okay, so here this is our main application, app.js. okay, so within the div we can have multiple div. Okay, so we can have a huge number of divs we can use. So what I'm going to do within the const app is, this is actually our parent component, which would be stateful. Okay, we'll make it stateful. So what you need to write, like h1 I'm going to write, this is the web page title. Okay, this is the web page title, and if I go there, as you can see, web page title, this is rendering everything. But now I'm not gonna do this like this way. I need to make component, and component, I'm gonna call this component here and it will render the same thing. So go to component and go to new file and add banner.jsx. top banner.jsx, this is actually a simple component, and here I'm going to create a simple component and I need to write RAFCE. So if you write and click on this, it will create a function called const top banner, and this is actually the arrow function that we use in ES6. Okay, so it will return some JSX element that we want to see, and I'm going to render it here. So this is our component. So here I'm going to write in h1, I'm going to write title, and title should be web page title, and then we have a paragraph tag, and the paragraph tag will have a subtitle, and this should be our motto: to learn React in practical way. So this is our subtitle, this is our title. So simple information, nothing else. This is just a stateless widget. Okay, and stateful widget doesn't change the state because we don't have any state, we just have simple HTML element. Okay, and so we now gonna import this, and as you can see, we have an export default top banner, and if you write the export default top banner here, you can import this information to the app.js, which is our main or the parent element. If you just call it top banner and hit enter, and as you can see, top banner from ./component, it will go to the component and import top banner.jsx. And now as you can see, this is actually the JSX. We created our own component for ourselves, and this is reusable. We can use it in many places, and you just put it here, and when you refresh it, and as you can see, our title, web page title, our subtitle, our motto, learn React in a practical way. So this is actually how the component based architecture works here. And we can pass some information as a props, and that is the thing that I'm going to show you here. So this is our parent. Okay, I'm going to send some information. So if you want to send some information, we need to have some state. So you need to go to import from React, use state. So use state, this is a functional component. Okay, so functional component, if you want to work with React state, you need to use state in a functional component to work with our state, because this is not a class component, because only in the previous generation only the class component have those features. Now we have from the React 16.8 we have these features and functionality to add state using the use state hooks. Okay, so to call that, we need to write const, and here I'm gonna write title, and we need to set state functionality, by which function we can change the state, which is set title. This is the convention. You can name the variable that would be changed, and this is the state, and this is how we change its state. Okay, this variable state, and you need to call use state, and here we can add give some initial value for, because this is a string, you can use a string. Suppose if it was a different value like do and set do, then you write use state and give a boolean value of true or false. This is the default value, and you can use a default number as well for number, like this way. Suppose 9, suppose 1, this is the default value. So this can be different type. It can be string, it can be number, it can be boolean. And then we have const like subtitle, okay, and set subtitle, and you can write use state, and here as it is a string, and we can give a initial value of use state. Now we have state in a functional component. Okay, so I write it in a wrong place. It should be under the function name, which is app here, and just import it perfectly. And now we can pass this information dynamically. This is title, and this title should be this title. Okay, and you can pass it, as you can see within the XML, I am passing the JavaScript using the second curly bracket or the second bracket or the curly bracket. You can pass some data or information, just like in the function we put some information in a parameter, and in the same way we can pass those props or the properties to the top banner here. Okay, from this parent component to the child component, we can passing data from the props, and that is the important thing. And you can name it anything like subtitle, but I'm giving the same name. Okay, subtitle. You can give it T if you want, and give it S if you want, but it doesn't look good, so that's why I'm giving it that. So this title is actually this title, and this subtitle is this subtitle. And here I'm gonna pass some data, and here I need to pass this data, web page title. Okay, I'm gonna pass this data, and if you go to top banner, I'm gonna pass this data. So this would be shown as the default value. Okay, as the default value. So we are passing this information in the top banner. Top banner, we don't need to write this because we already passing it from the parent. And here in the second bracket, we need to pass this information. We passed two things, which is title and subtitle from the parent, from the app, and here we need to get it as a parameter. So this is how the functional component works. It is really awesome. If you understand the basic, it is very easy. So we need to pass those two information from the parent to child, and this child is getting all the information from this parent, which is title and subtitle. Let's get it, which is title and subtitle. Now we need to get this. If we refresh it, as you can see, there is no information, only title and subtitle, and this is the only thing that we are seeing, because we implemented top banner here. That's why we are seeing this two information, but we need to get more data. And to get the dynamic data, we need to write a second curly bracket or the second bracket, and need to pass this title. And here we are passing subtitle. And now if we refresh it, we passed every single information, and this title is actually this title, and this title is web page title, and the subtitle is this subtitle, and this is passed to the top banner, and top banner is getting from its parameter function, and it is implementing it. Okay, so nothing complex here. This is stateless widgets because it doesn't have any state. It just gets all this information from its parent. Okay, it is getting all the information parent and giving some logic and showing all the information in the JSX element. So as you can see, within the HTML we can put some JSX element. Okay, you can do math within this curly bracket, so that is actually the JSX. So if we refresh it, as you can see, it is a dynamic information is coming. So very simple and very easy. You can understand very easily how it is working. Okay, and not only top banner, you can also put some information, like if you see my info.jsx, and you should give a name of capital letter myinfo.jsx and write arrayfce. So if we click on that arrayfce, you need to install the JavaScript ES7. Okay, ES7, this library, which is the package for the VS Code, ES7 React Redux GraphQL React Native snippets. You need to install that. If you write arrayfce, it will implement all those functional component for you. So this is the main information that will get all the information from these places and pass that. So here our app.js is our parent component, and my information is our child component. And here I'm gonna write this is our child, and it contains my info. Okay, so let's add it here. So my info. Okay, so let's check it out. Okay, child my info. So it will show my information. So let's give it h2. Okay, and it will show some information in a p tag, and it will have my name. Okay, my name, it will have my name, and let me copy the same information, name, and then we have email, and then copy the same thing, and age, and address. So these are all the things that will pass. Okay, so we're gonna show all this information in this, and here we're gonna pass those variables from the parent, like name, email, age, and address. So save it, and in the beginning it will give some error, but here in the my.info, and this is the component that will take some information, so from the parent. So this is the parent, and we just called our child here and pass some information, and we will pass our name, email, age, name, email, age, and then we're gonna put name, email, age, and address. Okay, address that we're gonna pass, and for that we need to create more const, which is name, and set name, and we're gonna call use state, and by default it would be nothing, and by default it would be my name, and const age, and set age, and it should be use state, and the use state it will give some age like 25, email, set email, and it will use state and give it any my email at gmail.com, and give some address, and set address, and use state, and use Dhaka, Bangladesh. Okay, so this is the state values, and I'm gonna pass the state value. First one is the name, and second one is the email, third one is the age, and the last one is our address. So we are passing those to the my information, and my information would get those values, and let me write those values first. First is the name, age, email, address. We're gonna pass those things, and let me pass those things, email, and age, and address. So we are passing all this information that is coming from the parent and hold it inside the props. This is the props that is passing from our parent component that holds all the state, but in this place there is no state, it is just props. So this is the stateless widgets or the stateless component, and this is stateful component that have tons of states, and we can change this state as well. We're gonna see this thing, and the last one we're gonna add a counter, and the counter would be use state, and the normal value, the initial value would be 0. If I click some buttons, we'll add this functionality later. Just see if this information is coming properly or not, and we are calling it and passing this information. Okay, let me see it. As you can see, it's working really fine. My name is coming, email coming, age coming, address is coming, and all of this information is coming from our apps. So these are the main root of our React application that you need to understand it perfectly. And then we have a button. If we click on this button, and let me give it increment. Okay, increment, and we just, and button have an attribute called onChange. If we change this thing, what will happen? And you give you bracket and a arrow functions, and it will change the state. So when you click this button, the state of the counter would be changed. We need to write it like counter and set counter. Okay, and the initial value is 0, and it will change on click. So we need to write set counter, and set counter it should be counter plus 1. It will increment the counter from 0 to 1 when you click on this button. Okay, so it is working fine, and it will show the information in a p tag here. So inside a p tag, we're gonna show the counter. Okay, the counter would be changed, and this counter is actually this counter which will be changing from 0 to 1 to 2 in each increment in the each click. Okay, so let's go and see. If you click on this button, the button will take on click, not on change. So make sure that button have a click event, and when you click on this, the counter will increment, and it will show from first it will see the 0, then it will go to 1, then 2 and 3 and so on, and it will show in the paragraph tag. So if we save it, as you can see, all the information is coming, the title and subtitle is coming, and if you click on increment, it will increment this value from 0 to 1 to 2 and 3 and 4. Even you can do the same functionality for the decrement as well, and for the decrement you can just copy this thing and paste it here, and you can write it counter. If you click on decrement button, it will set the counter, and you can change the counter using the set counter. Okay, so in the component, in the class component, you will use set state. So in the functional component you use set. So you can set the information and go to -1, or you can use -2 or -3, whichever you like, in the button click event, and it will change in information, and it will show that in the paragraph tag. So our decrement is also done, increment, decrement, increment and decrement. So all the functionality I have told you, you can change this state in a stateful component. So that's why this is the stateful component, because you can change all this information, right? It is very simple and very easy. And I also implemented two top banner and my information component, okay, which will getting all the information by the props, and that's why it is a stateless component. So these are all the basic things that you need to know. So this is very important. And also you can use use effect if you want. Okay, so in the functional component you use effect, in the class component you use component did mount. Okay, so when you understand and learn about the API calling and get all the information on the page load, you can do this thing. So now let's come to the point. So the depth of state and props can get initial value from parent component. Yes, the props can get all those information from the parent, as you can see in the demo that I showed in the code, and states can also do that, and can be changed by parent component. Yes, if parent component is changed, then the props will change, because it gets all the information from the parent. Okay, so if parent is changed, it will change. Can set default values inside component. So in props you can change the default values inside component, and in state you can also do that. So both have these features. And can change inside components. You can change inside component, but in props you cannot change inside component. You can only see what you get from your father. That's it. You cannot change it. You can change any state, and this is the main difference. So this is again very related. What is the difference between stateful and stateless? So stateful components are both the props retail state. It is used for client server communication. If you want to process some data, add some button event, click event, change some states like in the counter, and you can pass some data to the child component, and responding user interactions, events and form submissions, all the logics and data should be moved down to its child component from the parent component. And in the demo we see the apps, our const app is our main, the parent component, and it is showing all the information to the my information, and pass all the data to the my information component and the top banner component, so downstream to the child component from it. So it can process, it can pass some information, it responds to user interactions and events, all of those things it can do. So as you can see in the demo, when I click on this button, some state got changed and it will increment something, and when you can click on decrement, it decrement something. And the stateless, it has only props passed to it as variable and function from parent component and use those data. So it can only take variables as a variable from its parent component as a functions or as a props, and do some logics and render those out, and it is very easy to test and follow. As you can see, the functional component and the stateless component is very easy to understand what's going on. And what is the difference between class and function component? So this is what I'm talking about. So in the class component, we need some state. We get this state by default. You can call it just an object in JavaScript, and it has some lifecycle method called component did mount, component will update. Component did mount, actually what is the information you want to show when you just open a website. Okay, and you use that. And use class component, it is based, so its syntax is little bit of different compared to functional component. It is little bit of like object oriented way, that what you do, create a functions, create a method inside a class and implement those features. But the class component is more refined, it is refreshed, and it looks really clean. And when your project is really complicated, the function component would really helps. That's why the React hooks comes in from 16.8, when we can use state to use state in a functional component, which is amazing, as you can see in the demo. And in the use effect, we can use the lifecycle method, okay, which is very, very neat and clean. I will discuss everything in the next part, where I'm going to talk about the intermediate questions later. And what is the difference between React and React Native? So React.js is just a front-end library to build complex web application. It is for web, and React Native is for cross-platform mobile application development, which compiles to native Android or the native iOS or Windows platform to compile, so that we can use it on those platforms. And it uses same React.js under the hood, because this is actually the same React.js, but it is for more lightweight and very complex. It is not very complicated. It is very lightweight and very clean, and it is easy to use for mobile apps in general, because the web thing is more complicated, more heavy, but React Native is for mobile, so it needs a lot of resources, and it should run on our mobile devices, so it would be more lightweight. Okay, so this is the main difference to it. So when people ask it, just give it a direct answer. So these are all the things they need to know about the normal, very, very beginner React.js questions that I picked up, which is very important. And the next part, I'm going to talk about more briefly about React Router, Redux, and main concept of hooks and how you understand it, and the main concept of it, and where you will learn a lot about it and become a better developer, and you will do a better job, and you will get a better job if you see all the series. Like, I will make 3-part series, and first one is for beginners, then intermediate, and advanced. I'll see you in the next video. I hope you like it and understand what I want to do and what I want to achieve, and what I want to teach you guys, understand and every single bit of React, and understand it and feel it in a certain way, so that you can get a very good job and understand every single thing that I taught you. So that's all for today. I'll see you in the next video with amazing content. Till then, subscribe, share, and stay with me for a long time. See you in the next video. Bye bye.